So my name is Rafiq Wayani. If you don't know that already, I'm going to be introducing actually some basic topics, and I'm going to be showing some things specifically about VMware that are hopefully going to wow you in the short time that I have. I'm going to be telling you about virtual machines, and I'm going to be doing some basic demonstrations. I'm going to be telling you about how we got here and maybe a little bit into where we're headed. In the big scheme of things, virtual machines are really just a bunch of files. And the magic, if you will, is how those files are dealt with by the hypervisor. Hypervisor is the component that virtualizes the hardware, such as RAM, processor, disk, and network, so that a single physical machine can have many virtual machines inside of it. And by virtual machines, I mean a bunch of files, really. So what makes one hypervisor better than another? Well, every virtualization platform, Microsoft, VMware, and Citrix are the three big ones, has their own way of implementing the magic sauce, for lack of a better word, just like, I suppose, eating at one restaurant or another for your favorite meal. The recipe may be the same, but how the meal is cooked makes all the difference in the world. And in the world of virtualization, things are no different. And today, as it stands, VMware is king in that market. And the reason VMware is king in that market is because of the way VMware does things. It's because of the way VMware has implemented virtualization. So let me show you. Here is what is the administration console, if you will, of our VMware environment. I have created two hosts. These are two physical machines. Each of these machines has a dual quad-core processor, as you can see, right here. The total of 8 logical processors. And each of these machines, as you can see right here, has 16 gigs of RAM. Of the 16 gigs of RAM, only 79 meg of it is used for the purposes of the operating system. In this case, the operating system is VMware, the virtualization platform or the hypervisor that's running the whole show. Right? If I go up top here and I click on hosts, take a look right now. Host 251 is using 20% of the total amount of RAM, and host 252 is using up 9% of the total amount of RAM, and either of them are hardly using processor resources. The warning here is because I'm able to remote into the machines using a command line session, and the warning simply indicates, letting me know that there is an alternate way to get into these hosts that may not be secure. Okay. On the 251 hosts, I have a 2012 server, a Windows Server 2012 machine. And let me open this thing up. I'm going to open up the 2012 box for view. Here it is. Let me show you some of the reasons why VMware is really so awesome. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up Server Manager right here. And it's bringing up Server 2012 Server Manager. Okay. And in Tools, if actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to click on the Start menu, right-click on Computer, and go to Properties. And I want you to take a look at the amount of RAM on this machine. You see I've got 2 gigs of RAM on this machine. And this machine is running, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a process on this machine, very, very simple one. I'm just going to ping 192, 168, 220, 200. That's one of my machines, okay? So here I am pinging it. And you see the RAM that I've got on this box. I've got 2 gigs of RAM on this machine. I'm going to click on the VM menu, click on Edit Settings, and change the amount of RAM from 2 gig to 4 gig. Did you notice it right here? I'm going to click OK. Notice the pings, all right? The pings are still happening, and I'm able to move my virtual machines. Look, I have not lost anything. The pings are still going on. The machine's still processing. When I refresh, and I'm going to close out of this because this doesn't refresh really well. I'm going to right-click over here and go to Properties and watch. Look at the amount of RAM. Installed RAM is 4 gig. Slick is still pinging. Nothing stopped. I added 2 gigs of RAM in this machine while the machine was running. Now, in practice, in the real world, this would be of great benefit, because I would be able to allocate more resources to machines as they need them. Okay? I'd be able to allocate more resources to machines as they need them without having to shut the machine down or without having to tell somebody, hey, they can't use their machine for a few minutes because I have to shut it down and restart it. Not only that, as an administrator, if I shut a machine down, I have that instinctive fear that the machine may not come back up, or, you know, I have to deal with headaches. But I can take this one step further. Okay? You see the number of processors right here? Right now, I have only one processor on this machine. It's an Intel Xeon 5345 processor. And the reason I can tell, or the way I can tell, I have only one processor on this machine is because if I had more than one processor, it would show up right over here inside of a parentheses, and it would say 2 processors or 4 processors and so on. And right now it does not, which implies that I have only one processor. So here's what I'm going to do. While my machine is running right over here, I'm going to start this again. Here we go. I'm going to click on the VM menu, click on Edit Settings, and in Processors, I'm going to add 3 more processors. I'm going to make the processors from 1 to 4. I'm going to click OK. Okay, the machine is still running. Look, I'm able to move it, and the box is still going on. And when I take a look, you know, at the number of processors that I have, when I refresh the box, when I refresh the machine right here, if I look up a little bit, okay, notice I have one ping that's about 1 millisecond. I haven't lost anything. I'm going to close this. I'm going to refresh this by opening the computer again and going into Properties. And you'll notice now that I've got 4 processors. I didn't have to shut the machine down. No process had to be killed. Nothing. Everything is just happening and working. And the users that are using this server would not feel any difference. They wouldn't know what happened other than the fact that the server got faster. Okay? So I'm able to add RAM and processor really quickly. Okay? Those are 2 resources. How about networks? Well, let me show you. I'm going to open up my network. I'm going to select change adapter settings. And look, right now, I've got one network card on this machine, this Ethernet network card. I can click on the VM menu, click on Edit Settings, select, Add, select Ethernet adapter, click Next, click Finish, click OK, and watch over here. As soon as it updates itself, Server 2012, look at that, found the second network adapter. And all I have to do as an administrator, there you go. It's already assigned, it's already registered, and I've already got an IP address on it, and this adapter is ready to be used. Very slick. I'm going to minimize this over here, and I'm going to go over to Server Manager. I'm going to click on my files here. Here's my Windows Explorer. I'm going to go on to computer. Notice I've got a C drive that is almost 30 gigs in size total. I'm sorry, almost 40 gigs in size total. 29.5 of it is free. 29.5 gig is free. The big deal is that I need to be able to dynamically assign RAM, processor, disk, and network as I please from anywhere. And I just showed you that I can assign RAM, processor, and network. Let me show you how I can assign disk space. I'm going to click on Edit Settings. I'm going to click Add. I'm going to select hard disk, and I'm going to click Next. Create a new virtual disk. Click Next. And I'm going to thin provision 1 gig of space, because actually 10 gig of space. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to click Next. Click Finish. Click OK. And I'm going to open up Server Manager. I'm going to open up Computer Management right here. And in Computer Management, I'm going to go to Disk Management. It's looking to see what disks it has. There's my 10 gig disk. I'm going to bring it online. I'm going to right click on it and initialize it. Click OK. I'm going to right click on it and select New Simple Volume, and I'm going to format it. Here it is being formatted. E drive is given to me. Look at that. Okay. So I got disk, I got network, I got RAM, I got processor. All of that, the machine is running, and no one was disrupted. No user was disrupted. No processes were messed up. Things continued as they, as if nothing happened. Let me tell you and take you one step further. Inside of my universe here, I've got a 2003 machine. Okay, let me open this machine up right here, and I'm going to log into this box. So one of the other things is I'm going to say New Folder, and I'm just going to call this thing Snap Example. One of the other great things about virtual machines is that in the event of a disk failure, network failure, virtual machine crash, I'm able to bring things back to life very quickly. I'm going to take a snapshot. Snapshot is a point-in-time image of a virtual machine. I'm taking one right now. If you look down there, the snapshot's being taken. You see right there? The status is being given on the bottom. I'm taking a snapshot, and since this is my first snapshot of this machine, it's taking a little bit longer. Otherwise, this happens very, very quickly. Every subsequent snapshot is taken very quickly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally kill this machine. Once the snapshot is completed, I'm basically going to remove the hard drive that it has, the C drive that it has on this machine, this drive right here, and I'm going to kill it. Okay? I'm going to remove the C drive, essentially making the machine, well, useless. So snapshot's done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to VM. I'm going to go to Edit Settings. I'm going to go to Hard Disk. I'm going to remove the hard disk. Remove virtual machine, remove hard disk from virtual machine, and delete files from disk. Okay. Here's my virtual machine. Hard disk is gone. Watch what happens. Look, I just clicked on something. It disappeared. The whole machine is dead at this point. When I restart the virtual machine, I'm going to do a reset. When I restart the virtual machine, you'll notice it's just going to be in a spin. It just goes into Windows Setup because it doesn't know what to do. Right? I'm going to remove the Windows Setup disk from this machine, totally, completely remove the Windows Setup, and then do a reset. Okay? Then do a reset. Now it won't even go in Setup. Now what's going to happen is it's going to be spinning, looking for, where's my drive, where's my hard drive, give me back my machine. If this were to happen on a server, if this were to happen in a production environment, well, somebody would be looking for some heads. So I'm going to click on the VM menu, click on Snapshot, and I'm going to select Revert to Current Snapshot, and watch what happens when I say yes. Watch, watch, watch. And right down there, Oh my God, look at that. There's my folder that I created, the snap example folder, and the virtual machine is back. For all intents and purposes, everything is going to work exactly the way it's supposed to work, and the snapshot brought the machine back to life, which is very, very cool. If you really think about it, here it is, reverting from the snapshot. If you really think about it, the virtual machine and virtualization in general has changed the face of administration in amazing ways. Let me remove this folder. Has changed the face of administration in amazing ways, and it has changed the paradigm, and VMware has led the way. Let me show you something else that's interesting. I changed the network. I added processor, I added RAM, I added disk space, and I added network card. Let me tell you something else, and I showed you a snapshot example. Let me tell you something else. Let's say right now my 2003 server is being hosted by this machine, this host, the .252 host. And let's say that this host is, running out of memory or running out of disk space, or maybe on this host I want to physically add more RAM, add more processor, or this host is just too old. I want to get rid of it. Before I get rid of that host, I have to take the virtual machines and move them off. Here's what I got to do. Wait, I got to show you this side by side. So here's my host here. Let me make this over here. Let me put this over here. And I'm going to move this host. First, I'm going to let this thing run something. And I'm going to say ping 192.168.220. Okay, there it is pinging. I'm going to take this host right here, and I'm going to move it over to this one. And CD DVD. I'm going to click on the VM menu, and I'm going to click on Edit Settings right here, and I'm going to move this over. Click OK. Clean that machine up. Click on this host, move it over. Click Next, click Finish. Watch what happens on the left. And look on the bottom over here. Look at the status. It's moving the host, and watch what happens up here. It's going to move the host, and right here it's telling me, hey, it didn't lose any connectivity, but look, it moved the machine. Nothing happened here. This is still running as is. And I have freed up this host to do whatever I want to do. Right now, I can shut down 252, and it's not going to affect anything. This machine is running just like it's supposed to run. This right here, what I just did, is called vMotion. vMotion allows me to move virtual machines between hosts without really affecting production, and I can do this during production, during the time people are using their servers, and really not affect anything. I can place and replace and move and mitigate my problems and my issues associated with the four big dogs. And the four big dogs are RAM, processor, disk, and network. As long as I can manage, mitigate, and distribute those resources as I please, when I please, wherever I please, I, the administrator, have more freedom to basically handle my business, for lack of a better word. And this way I'm able to do it without hindering, my user community. Right? So Citrix does this as well. Microsoft Hyper-V does this as well. The only difference is Microsoft Hyper-V and Citrix don't do it with such finesse. And I don't know how to describe finesse in much better terms than I'm able to drag and drop things and add and remove basically huge resources without affecting production. And if I properly set things up, anybody that I direct and give a little bit of instructions to, I'm able to help them accomplish the exact same tasks, right? Let me show you something else. On my Windows box here, no, not this machine, this box right here, okay. I'm going to shut down my server. Actually, I'm going to close out my server 2003 machine, and I'm going to turn on something called PowerCLI. Okay. PowerCLI is a command line interface. Okay. PowerCLI is a command line interface that allows me to work with my VMware environment. Okay, and I'm going to show you how this works. Now on top, I have Windows Server 2003 box running, and the reason, let me just bring it up as well so you can see it running. Here it is, running. And I'm going to open up PowerCLI right over here, and I'm going to connect to my management infrastructure. And let me make this thing a little bit bigger. I'm going to connect to my management infrastructure, and I'm going to use my credentials, and credentials right over here, like so. And I'm going to do, there we go. That's the right machine. Now I want to show you something very cool. So if you look on the right hand side over here, I got my 2003 machine running, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do shut down VM guest 2003-01. Look on the right hand side. Let's see. What should happen is this machine should begin to shut down. Look at that. Now shutting down is, a relatively easy process. But the great benefit here is that I can shut a machine down with a great deal of flexibility, because I can shut down a lot of machines at the same time. VMware also has a concept of templates. Okay? Templates allow me to build other machines or clone other machines. And I want to show you something. I'm going to create what's called a templating process really quick. And I'm going to build a brand new machine in front of you. Click. And here is my template right here. And watch from my VMware's, my PowerCLI environment. Let me make this thing a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it a little bit better. Bold fonts. Click OK. Minimize this a little bit. Minimize this a little bit and move it over. And, all right. I'm going to specify now what's going to happen is I'm going to create multiple copies of a virtual machine. And I'm going to create brand new Server 2003 machines. Of course, they're kind of old. Server 2003 is old. I'm showing you this because it's easier to show examples on Server 2003 box, because it builds a lot quicker because it doesn't need as many resources. And I'm going to say 220, 252. Specify some parameters here that I'm going to be using. And final new auto 2K301. Okay. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to say new VM name VM name, customization spec custom, template, data store, VM host, VMH, and look here. Look right here on the left. This machine is being built right now. If you look on the bottom, there's the status of the machine being created. And this is building a machine right here. All because of this command that I ran. What's the benefit of this? Well, I can run this command again, and I'm going to show you. I can run this command again, and with just a little bit of manipulation, I'm going to manipulate that. With just a little bit of manipulation, I can make this 02. And watch what happens. I'm going to create another machine on 251. VM is copying the virtual machine settings. 02, 251, data store 01. Close enough. There you go. Look, now it's creating auto 2K302 on 251. And look on the bottom, the machine is being constructed on separate servers. I'm able to do this remotely. The big benefit here is I'm able to do this remotely. I'm able to create machines, provision resources, provision disk, processor, RAM, network, an entire machine, while things are in production without affecting anyone. So I wanted to give you some demonstrations associated with VMware, show you the creation, a little bit of manipulation, and the fact that virtual and virtual machine comes from the fact that they are files that are manipulated by the hypervisor. Okay? And I showed you and described and demonstrated very simply how PowerCLI works and how it can benefit the automation process and the administration process. Okay? So virtual machines have come a long way. Technology has come a long way. And we have a long way to go. This is just the beginning with relation and regards to where we're headed.